Chapter 6. The Last Great Emperor, Aurangzeb Alamgir. Introduction. The Shadow of Greatness. Every great empire reaches a moment where its power peaks, and from that peak, decline quietly begins. For the Mughal Empire, that turning point came under a ruler both brilliant and controversial, Aurangzeb Alamgir. To some, he was the most powerful emperor India had ever seen. To others, he was the man who unknowingly weakened the foundations of a mighty empire. This is the story of ambition, faith, conquest, and consequence. This is the story of Aurangzeb. Chapter 1. The Path to the Throne. Aurangzeb was born in 1618, the third son of Emperor Shah Jahan. Unlike his elder brothers, he was not raised in luxury or art. He was disciplined, deeply religious, and intensely ambitious. As a young prince, he proved himself on the battlefield, crushing rebellions, governing provinces, and expanding Mughal control in the Deccan. When Shah Jahan fell ill, a brutal war of succession erupted among his sons. Aurangzeb defeated his brothers one by one. Dara Shikoh was captured and executed. Shah Shuja was defeated and fled. Murad was imprisoned and later killed. In 1658, Aurangzeb crowned himself emperor. But the price of power was blood. Chapter 2. The Rise of a Strict Ruler. Unlike his predecessors, Aurangzeb rejected luxury. He lived simply, dressed modestly, and followed strict religious discipline. Music, painting, and royal extravagance were discouraged. Aurangzeb believed that an emperor's duty was not pleasure, but obedience to divine law. He aimed to rule as a moral guardian rather than a patron of art. This marked a sharp shift from the tolerant and artistic court of Akbar and Shah Jahan. Chapter 3. The Deccan Campaigns. Aurangzeb's greatest ambition was to bring the entire Indian subcontinent under Mughal control. His focus turned south to the Deccan Plateau. For over 25 years, Aurangzeb personally led military campaigns against the Deccan Sultanates and the rising Maratha power under Shivaji and his successors. These wars were long, expensive, and exhausting. Although Aurangzeb eventually annexed vast territories, the cost was enormous. The treasury was drained, the army was overstretched, administration weakened. Victory came, but at a terrible price. Chapter 4. Religious Policies and Their Impact. Aurangzeb believed in ruling according to strict Islamic principles. He reversed many of Akbar's policies, reimposed jizya tax on non-Muslims, destroyed or repurposed some temples, reduced royal patronage of arts and music. These actions alienated many communities and weakened the sense of unity that once held the empire together. While some saw him as a devout ruler, others saw his reign as divisive. Chapter 5. The Paradox of Power. At its height, the Mughal Empire under Aurangzeb was the largest territorial state in Indian history. Yet it was also at its weakest internally. The empire had become too vast to govern effectively. Local revolts grew frequent. The Marathas, Sikhs, and regional powers gained strength. Aurangzeb ruled for nearly 50 years, but much of that time was spent fighting rebellions. He conquered much, but consolidated little. Chapter 6. The Fall Begins. By the time Aurangzeb died in 1707, the empire was exhausted. His successors were weak. The treasury was empty. Provincial governors declared independence. Within decades, the Mughal Empire was reduced to a shadow of its former self. What followed was the rise of regional powers and eventually colonial domination. Conclusion. The legacy of a complex emperor. Aurangzeb remains one of the most debated figures in Indian history. To some, he was a devout ruler who upheld discipline and order. To others, he was the architect of the empire's decline. What is undeniable is this. Under Aurangzeb, the Mughal Empire reached its greatest territorial extent and also began its irreversible decline. His reign stands as a powerful reminder that empires are not sustained by conquest alone, but by unity, tolerance, and wise governance.